Hello, everyone. This is Jessie Bowen, and welcome to our Becoming Author podcast. Well, it's the beginning part of the year, and this is actually our first podcast we're doing, kicking off 2025. And I'm going to be doing a podcast each day for the next 5 days. So you don't want to miss them. I'm going to be having on martial artists who are authors, plus they are also professional speakers, public speakers. So today I'm kicking off with a good friend of mine, Dr. John Terry. And a lot of you may know him from the United States Hall of Fame and all the things he's doing there. But you may not know that he's an author, and he's also a speaker. And, he is the founder of Black Belt Leadership and the president of Real Life Management. He's also a Maxwell Leadership Team executive director. And so he's got a lot of things out there that he's doing. And the purpose of these programs and the interviews is to let martial artists know, or anyone, that not only can you teach the martial arts or run a business, but what is it that you're good at? What is the thing you're interested in? What's the thing that makes you better that someone else wants to know? Now, if you're a martial artist, the great thing of what you're doing, everyone is intrigued about the martial arts and about the martial artists. And companies really want to know, how can I help my team to become better? How can I have that black belt discipline? How can I have all those values? So, and I know that John has a #1 best-selling book out, and we're going to be talking about that too. So, hey, sir, how are you doing?
I am fantastic, my friend. Happy New Year, and so glad to be on the podcast with you.
And I really appreciate you taking the time out. I know you stay on the road all the time. Now,
Yes,
I just get connected to my desk from the publishing. So I was telling you a few moments ago, I'm going to be getting out this year, and doing some speaking, and really trying to integrate, make the world a better place through the principles of the martial arts, the books and all of that. So tell us a little bit about you. Give us your background. A lot of people know you. And then there's quite a few people that may not know who you are.
Absolutely. Jesse, my story starts at 13. My parents relocated from a big city to a small town, and I had the opportunity to go from being a big city nobody to a small town somebody, and that was because every bully in the school I enrolled in decided to pick on me. So, you know the background, you know the story. Your dad throws you in martial arts so you can learn to defend yourself, and I show up at this karate school. It was a Goju school, and I was the only kid in the class at 13 years of age, 75 pounds soaking wet. And I'm looking at these giants of the men thinking, oh my God, my dad's paying good money for me to get snapped like a twig by these guys. And the instructor smiles and he says, oh, Mr. Terry, I'm glad you're here. He said, we've had a new student join that's just about your size. And he points over into the corner, and this beautiful lady that looks like she stepped out of a Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue walks up and introduces herself. And she says, like you, I'm a new student here in the school. And, 13-year-old kid, heart's just pounding. And I'm like, man, what could be better than this? Until I learned that she had come out of a bad relationship, and she was in martial arts to learn to defend herself. So the standing joke at my house became, my dad was paying good money for me to get beat up like a girl 3 days a week while I'm learning martial arts. So I complained to Dad, and I'm like, Dad, what are we going to do about this? And he said, well, son, when you learn to fight like a girl, the bullying at school will stop. And sure enough, when I learned to fight well enough that I could keep the girl off of me, the bullying at school stopped. And from that, I fell in love with the martial arts. But one of the things I discovered early on, Jesse, is that there are a significant number of leadership principles that we learn in the martial arts. There's as much about character and values and leadership as there is punching and kicking and self-defense. That became a passion for me. And now here we go, fast forward 50 years later, I have taken the opportunity to take what I've learned in over 50 years of martial arts and apply that to leadership, to communication, to sales and marketing, giving individuals and organizations an opportunity to what I call become black belt masters at who they are and what they do. And that's what I get the privilege and opportunity to do as I travel not only here in the United States, but around the world speaking and teaching. I've got book number 9 and 10 ready to launch this year and working on book number 11. So I stay actively busy. But the big thing that I'm trying to do every day is to help people understand every morning when they get up, they're leading somebody somewhere right now, even if the only person they're leading is themselves. So if we can learn to become a black belt leader and have that discipline and that focus and all of those important values that we learn in the martial arts and apply those to our personal and professional life, lo and behold, we end up making better choices, creating better outcomes, and we have an opportunity to lead and influence other people to do the same. That's my story in a nutshell.
Wait, that's exactly what I would say too. And my, our stories are very similar. I would assume if you ask every grandmaster has the same story. There's a little twist in there, but it's
Sure.
all about the
Yeah.
same that, you get tired. You don't want to be beat up anymore. So you get involved in the martial arts and you think it's all about fighting. And then you learn about all these other things that
True.
become
Yeah.
natural.
It becomes a
And
lifestyle. Yeah.
yeah, right. And then you work on mastering. So when you work on mastering these different things, and I know you're an international bestseller, or what's that? Times best-selling
Mhm.
author.
Yeah, I was recently named to the LA Tribune's bestsellers list. Robert Cialdini and I, in September of 2024, we were both recognized and named to the LA Tribune's bestsellers list for my book, Black Belt Leadership 101. That came as a complete surprise and quite an honor. That book had been a bestseller on Amazon and was pleased with that. But to have one of the oldest conservative newspapers in the West Coast reach out and say, hey, we recognize your work, we think there's value there, and we want to honor that, that was a huge surprise and a great honor that they bestowed on me.
So there are two things that for us to talk about today. Well, the first one, we don't have to talk about karate, but we have to talk about the importance of presentation. So if you're a business owner, if you are a martial arts school owner, the very first thing happens when a new student actually calls your martial arts school, or they walk in the door and you introduce yourself, is your ability to communicate in a way that makes that person comfortable. And so becoming a public speaker or taking classes or enhancing yourself, always continue to enhance yourself, take classes, do certification. I know I am a certified coach under the Silva Life System, which used to be called Silva Mind Control way
Mhm.
back in the day,
I
which
remember
is
that.
called
Yeah.
Silva Life System. And so I've been certified on that, teaching seminars for over 30 years. And I'm also a certified life coach. I'm also a certified intuitive coach. I'm a certified sports hypnotist coach. And so, continuing to learn to elevate. And I know that you are a Maxwell coach. So tell us give me your input on that, about the continual learning that martial artists, especially school owners, that they have to do. So it's not a one drop. I know how to do a high block, a low block, and a middle block, but my school is not growing, and I'm not able to figure out why. Now, there's a lot of things that go in there to your why, but one of the first things has to start with you as the person, and your vision, and all those different things in there. And every business model, every company that you're speaking with and I'm speaking with, they really have to have the same principles.
Absolutely. Jesse, as I was listening to you talk, my thoughts went to Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein is known for many, many things, the theory of relativity and these great scientific advancements. But Albert Einstein was also a brilliant student of human behavior. And one of the things Albert Einstein said that many people don't know is he said this, he said the same thinking that caused the problem that you find yourself in is not going to get you out of that problem. And if you think about what that means is bring up the scenario you just had. A school owner gets a phone call and all of a sudden somebody calls and says, tell me why I should choose your school over any and every other available option to me, including just staying home and watching TV all day. That's a problem you've got to answer. But if you're not training yourself and you're not constantly developing yourself to become a better version of who you are and what you do, you may not be able to answer that question effectively to attract that individual into your house. You know, Ray Kroc was the famous brainchild behind the McDonald's franchise. The McDonald brothers tried unsuccessfully for years to franchise this idea of fast food served quickly and hot, very inexpensively. Ray Kroc came along and he saw the opportunity, but one of the things Ray Kroc was known for was the development of the people in the organization. And it was part of his mission with every franchise he set up that every individual that ran that franchise had to go through regular training to become better at who they were and what they do. And Ray Kroc said it very well. He said, as long as you're green, you're growing. But once you're ripe, you start to rot. Now, my question is this: how many school owners do we have that are rotten school owners because they got their black belt in karate, kempo, jiu-jitsu, you pick the style, they got their black belt, and that's the extent of the knowledge that they've gotten. And they've not added anything to that knowledge in the past 20 or 30 years. Now, I'm not talking about the martial arts aspect of it. I'm talking about the business aspect of running a martial arts school. Far too many school owners I talk to, when I say, tell me what you do, and they say, well, I'm a karate teacher, or I'm a jiu-jitsu teacher, or I'm a taekwondo teacher. And I'm like, well, that's part of what you do, but that's not who you are. You are an entrepreneur. You are a business owner that is bringing something to market. And if you don't understand that you are a business owner that teaches martial arts, you're missing the bigger picture of what could happen in your school when you realize you can be, as you and I talked before we got on, more than a martial artist. And many school owners spend all their time working in their business and honing their craft, which is great, but they never work on the business. They never create systems and processes for what do you do when that person calls? What do you do when that new student walks in the door? What do you do when mom and dad bring a little 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid into your school and he's scared to death to get on the floor? What do you do when little Susie has a meltdown? We never go through and learn those things that allow us to become better at who we are and what we do, and being able to bring something to the marketplace that makes our school unique and different and stand out. So everybody in the community starts talking about it, and they become the raving fans that drive those new students into your school. That to me is a missing part of what we see in the martial arts community. And I'm on a personal quest to fix that. And I know you are too. So I'm very excited to be having this conversation today.
Well, this is this is the goal, with the American Martial Arts Alliance Foundation and our business part that we're bringing back up, because the future of the martial arts has changed. And the people have changed. And as a martial arts school owner or a business owner, regardless, and if you're not keeping up with these changes, then you're behind. If you're not trying to find innovative ways to enhance yourself, that's the reason why, take a course. It's easy to take online courses, do certification. We have our course titled Speak with Confidence. This is an online course that you can go through. You go through the course, everything's laid out, and on how to, when you finish, you get a certificate of certification. We also give you your first program on what you can go out and teach on. What is time management? What is goal setting? Any of those things they help you get, because they help you get launched. But when you go through this course, you can apply these same things into your martial arts, and you're correct. And it's hard to get martial artists to understand, especially old school martial artists, that there are two of you. There's you, the karate person, the martial artist, and there's you, the entrepreneur, the business person. Now, they can be one and the same, but they're different. But if you think them all as one, then that's the problem. Because now you've been trained by the great grandmasters, and then you don't love money, and you don't want revenue. You don't want to talk about money and finances because you're now the McDonald. Now I do want to say something about McDonald. I'm stopping myself in the middle of the sentence because it was on my mind. Even today, when you go by the different fast food chains, McDonald, McDonald's has the best service. Their people are very uniform. They look alike. I mean, they have that look. They don't look dirty. You don't mind. You peep into the kitchen at the floor and you go, mm. but that is a brand.
It
And
is.
starting at that particular time of investing in their people, investing, the right amount of money to pay them to get them to stay there, giving them education, giving them scholarship opportunity, giving them business opportunities, that's really that has really built that brand that's existed. And for the martial arts community, our brand can do the same thing if
Exactly.
we apply the McDonald principles, into the business. So we really want to be able to do that. So as a martial arts school owner, you have to realize that you have to go in today's martial artists. You really have to go into your martial arts realizing there are two of you. That's the one that has to get the business background because you're paying taxes, so you are a business owner. And then there's a person that needs to work on how do I work on communicating to my students? How do I offer the program? How do I describe the value of what I'm getting so that you can now recognize that? You got guys like Jeff Smith and Stephen Oliver, and I'm working with those guys, and they really they've got a system. I mean, these guys are producing your $1 million a year entrepreneur martial artist without sacrificing. Now, I always hear someone say, well, someone has 200-300 students in their school. Well, that's a Mac karate school. But my granddaughter graduated from in Tennessee from one of the instructors that's with Stephen Oliver. I went to her test and I didn't announce myself. I'm just granddaddy sitting in the stand. And I looked around. It took 2 days for them to go through their test, a couple of hundred students. She did her black belt test. And the one thing that I noticed, all of those, this was in a gym, all of the parents sitting around this gym, they were all happy. The kids were happy. I mean, my granddaughter is happy. She's never done a tournament. You don't have to be a tournament competitor to become a martial artist. It's always great for you to have that experience. But that's the thing. But the young lady that ran that school, she's actually has a TV series in the community called Master Mom. And so, I mean, she runs the city when it comes to martial arts, but she's a speaker, she's a coach, she has a book out, she has all of these things that's empowered her and for her to be recognized, as an expert. So the martial artist, you have to be thinking about that I'm a martial artist, but I'm also a business person. So, if I go to a seminar to learn how to improve my skill set, why not go to a seminar to understand how to become a public speaker, how to, take a course on how to build that other side of you. And we're sharing this because, this is what we do as John travels across the country and around the world, sharing his books. And we're just, grandmasters showing up here today. We want to give you something. This podcast is free, doesn't cost a dime. It's just information. If you'd like to know how we do it or how you can get involved in doing it, then you can reach out to us. And I'm going to have John give his information in just a few minutes. but you can reach out to us. And all week long, I'm going to be bringing on martial artists that are making a difference because they're coaches. And all of them have books. So, yeah. So how about what you think about that, John?
You know, Jesse, as I listened to you talk, my thoughts went to the request of the school owner. When a student walks in the door, prospective student, they are asking that student to make an investment in themselves to train in the martial arts. Well, by the same token, how many of these school owners are willing to make an investment in themselves to learn to be a better communicator, to learn how to be a better leader in the community, to find something that they're passionate about that they can blend into their martial arts school and have an opportunity in the time they're not teaching martial arts to offer something different and something unique that can help the community. And all of a sudden, now you stand out as unique and different. But it begs the question, if you are not willing to invest in yourself as a school owner, why in the world should you be willing to ask somebody else to invest in themselves if you're not willing to do the same? So I 100% agree with you because I have a speaking coach. I have a leadership coach. I have a coach that worked with me on business systems and processes. I have 5 to 6 people that I pay money to every year that hold me accountable, that stretch me, that give me the opportunity not to be complacent, but to say, okay, John, what's next? And then they pull, they prod, they poke, they do what's necessary to take me to the next level of success. You know, it's just like in the martial arts. You earn your black belt, you think you've arrived. Well, you haven't. When you earn your black belt, you've only demonstrated at this point you're now a serious student. And you and I know that first degree black belt's just the beginning of the real journey. You've got second degree and third degree, all the way up to 10th degree black belt. It is a lifetime of learning that we commit to in the martial arts. Why can't we have the same passion on the other side? You know, the god Janus in Roman times was a two-faced god. We have our martial arts face, but we have our business owner face. And we spend all the time honing this one face so that it looks great to the public. But if we don't have the other face honed and trained to a razor's edge, so we're black belt masters of not just the martial arts, but of leadership, of communication, of understanding human behavior, of understanding how to run a successful business, of understanding how to market, and all the other things necessary to create that thriving 6-figure, 7-figure business, you're missing the boat. And oftentimes I believe it's the fact that we think too small. We don't believe we're capable of what we really are capable of. So it goes back to that first chapter in my book, Black Belt Leadership. You've got to first believe in you. And if you've been called to be a martial arts instructor, that is a huge calling. It's like a pastor. You've been called to shepherd people in a very amazing way. But with that calling comes a responsibility to grow yourself, to stretch yourself, to improve, to mature, and to add to your knowledge the things that are going to allow you to better serve those people that you've been called to steward and lead. So yeah, I think we're right on there. Absolutely, Jesse.
You know, and as we, you know, the other the other part that we talk about that really enhances, you know, I've written over 30 books. Back in 2014, we published the Who's Who in the Martial Arts. Now, there was only scheduled to be one book. It was something I was doing for my teacher, and you know, because his partner had passed away, and I wanted to do something to just to say thank you. So I've got together, you know, 50, 60 people, and they were in the book. We held an awards banquet. We held a tournament. And next year, Joe Corley and Jeff Smith said, let's do this again. Let's do it at the Battle of Atlanta. And I'm going, oh, well, I don't know. Didn't really know how to do that on that type of scale. But I'm saying that to say that that book changed my life.
Absolutely.
You know, it changed my life. I had a very successful school. I was teaching at Duke University, and I was there for 29 years teaching. I was the martial arts instructor. I had an MMA class. I taught through, this is all credit classes through physical education. I had a mindfulness class that I taught. I was a bowling instructor for the university. So I had all these things here, right? It was hard to replace me because
Understand.
you know
Yeah.
because what I was doing. But when I wrote this book And I had written a couple of books before then. But what I discovered was something that everyone could connect with, and that was that everyone had a story, but didn't have a place and where to put it. And that book grew so much that it was taking more time because the demand was so great. And the foundation, I went to leadership instead of daily teaching. But let's talk about that idea. So how did you come up with the idea of writing your book?
For my book, it was a challenge uh, for me. And I had an individual years ago. My first book was inspired by Malcolm McGregor. Malcolm McGregor was the Christian CPA on the 700 Club. He was good friends with my pastor, and Malcolm came in and spent some time at our church teaching a biblical stewardship workshop. And I got the opportunity because I was the sound guy to be there at every session he taught, and I had the opportunity to essentially be his escort for the entire week. I made sure he got from point A to point B and drove him where he needed to go. And as a result of that, we got to spend time with doing lunch together and breakfast together and just really talking about life. And I had a passion for money and had grown up in a family. My grandfather was a banker. My uncle was a CPA, had a passion for financial services. And so this was something I loved. And so I was beginning to share all these things that I was thinking in my head. And as Malcolm got ready to leave Russellville, Arkansas, and head back to California where he lived, he turned and he looked at me and he put his hand on my shoulder and he looked down and he said, "John," he says, "what are you going to do with the rest of your life?" And I said, "Malcolm, I don't really know." I said, "I'm a 23-year-old and I'm still trying to figure this all out." He says, "I want to give you a piece of advice." He said, "Go write a book. I did. It will change the world." And then Malcolm turned and left. He got on a plane and flew home. Now, 3 days later, Jesse, I haven't slept for 3 days. Every time I would lay down and close my eyes, I would see Malcolm looking down at me and he was saying, "Write a book. I did. It will change the world." And after 3 days of not sleeping, I drove to Little Rock, Arkansas to buy a computer I didn't know how to use, to write a book I didn't know how to write. That book was picked up by 2 Bible seminaries and has ultimately gone into 25 countries around the world. And that book is now in its 4th edition. It's called Dollars and Cents. And that book is really what set me on the path of writing. I've been doing creative writing since the time I was little. I was writing plays and we were performing plays in elementary school. I started doing short stories, a lot of science fiction, a lot of detective type stuff, all through junior high and high school. But this was my first challenge to step up from just being a casual or a hobby writer to doing something meaningful and being able to put something in the hands of people that would change their lives. And one quick story related to that book. This 4th edition is the first time that book has been published outside of the Bible seminaries. And it was published on Amazon about 2 years ago. And about 6 months after it was published, I got a call from this guy and he says, "Is this John Terry?" I said, "Yes, it is." He said, "Is it the John Terry?" And I'm like, "Well, it depends on which John Terry you're looking for. If you're looking for the soccer guy in England, I'm not him." He said, "No, I'm looking for the guy that wrote the book Dollars and Cents." And I'm like, "Well, where'd this call come from?" This guy was calling from Canada, from some little remote town in the middle of nowhere in Canada. He said, "I have been praying for God to send me a book like this for 10 years. And he said, "I turned on Amazon to look for a book, and your book showed up as one of the new releases." He said, "I bought that book, and it changed my life." Now, I can't tell you now, 9 books later, how many times I've heard that story of a leadership book, a book on negotiation, a book on self-confidence, a book on doing faith-based martial arts. I've written a variety of different topics, but in every one of those, I can tell you there are people that come to you and say, "That book changed my life." And think about it. You and I can impact only so many people face to face. But when we write a book, that becomes a calling card that can literally go around the world like my first book did and my Black Belt Leadership 101 did and now Black Belt Secrets of Success is. And you can literally touch the world without ever leaving your hometown. That's a
Uh,
big deal. That's the power of a book.
and it really is. We did one of our Elite Martial Artists in America books, and I sent a copy to an executive in New York to at American Express. They contact me a week later and says, "Well, we want you to come in and be the closing speaker for our event."
Mhm.
And so, but I had done something for them before, but the book inspired them to say, "Wow, Jesse's got a book out. Let's
Right.
bring him in.
Yeah.
Let's have him to come in
Yep.
and speak."
Hmm.
And we talk about programs. So we're not just talking about jumping out and doing stuff. We're talking about going to institutions, going to places that can help you. My program is a good starter program. Now, John, I know that you're a Maxwell program. Let's just talk about that just for a couple of minutes because my son is a Maxwell coach also.
So the Maxwell Leadership Program is fantastic. For those that don't know the name John Maxwell, John is considered the foremost authority on leadership in the world. John has written more books on leadership than the number two, three, and four authors combined. And he's been doing this for well over 60 years. And John got this idea that he's not going to be around forever. And is there an opportunity to take the wisdom and insight that he's given and gift it to other people? So John created the Maxwell Leadership Organization, and it's an opportunity for individuals that want to embrace John's leadership message. And as John says, become the essentially the feet to his legacy, or the legs to his legacy is the word he likes to use, that be able to take his message to different parts of the world and to talk about leadership. When we think of John, we think of statements like everything rises and falls on leadership. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. John says everybody communicates, few connect. There's a lot of Maxwellisms floating around, but all of those came from a book. And the books John has written over the years have not only allowed him to be able to speak all over the world, it has granted him audiences with kings, with crown princes, with rulers of countries. And what John's organization is doing now is they are doing transformational change where they are taking some of the leadership aspect of what John has developed and they're going into foreign countries and they're transforming countries by teaching servant leadership. Powerful opportunity there for people that want to engage in that, and more than happy to have a conversation with folks that say, I'm interested in that. I have the privilege of serving on John's President's Advisory Council, and so I get a chance to introduce a lot of new people to what John does, and more than happy to have that conversation with people that are interested in learning more about the Maxwell Leadership Program.
Well, my first training program I went through again was the Silver Method program. In the old days was called Silver Mind Control,
Mhm.
and then it's called Silver Life System. By Jose Silva, and that was one of the most dynamic programs. And I've been involved with that since 1998, and I've been doing seminars and using in my own life, and shared it with athletes, and this is what I shared at Duke University. Also, I
Mhm.
did performance training using visualization. So I really sort of specialize in mind development. So I'm your
Mhm.
mind guy, sports hypnosis, and all those things. And that's what I write about in my books, about personal empowerment. And I've got a book coming out on January the 20th, and it's called Don't Procrastinate on God. It's a book for entrepreneurs and, about taking action. If you've been blessed, we all have a purpose, and the book goes in about finding your purpose and how do you take action. Then I'm working, just like with you, I'm working on I discovered last night, I'm working on my next two books. And this is on focus leadership. And so I'm working on that. But everyone, our listeners, we want you to know that no matter if you're in the martial arts business or any business, one of the most powerful things you can do is actually write a book. And here at Elite Publications, what we try to do is give you the easy button. I had, I think it was 24 international best-selling authors that we produced last year. And we want to help you to, number one, define your purpose in whether it's in leadership, whether it's in fiction or nonfiction, Christian authors. We want to help you to be able to do that. And now, hey, John, so put on your schedule. I'm planning right now that we're going to be doing the Take Center Stage book festival in New York. And that's going to probably be in June. I think your event is what, July?
My event is July 17, 18, and 19 is the United States Martial Arts Hall of Fame event.
Yeah, okay. So this is in June. We're thinking about doing in Times Square, actually having a festival, having speakers come in. Love for you to come in and be one of our speakers at this event, and everyone put on your calendar. And this can be a training for individuals that want to know more about coaching, about public speaking, publishing. We'll be recognizing people for their books, and it's just going to be a great weekend. So we're going to announce that coming up in the next couple of weeks, but we're planning on June. So right now we're talking with some different hotels and different things about the event. So remember, everyone has a story. You just have to get it out. And who are we? Well, we're grandmasters in the martial arts. It means that we've been around more than a minute. We are event promoters. So, we are part of the system that recognizes and works on keeping the martial arts alive. Who are we? Now, we're the guys that go out and companies call on us to come out and entrust us with their staff to empower them. We are empowerment coaches. So if you like to know what we know, do what we do, then we want to help you, because we realize that if we don't help people develop themselves into this next generation, then something's going to be lost. So we want to give you the opportunity to know what we know. So, John, how do people reach out to you?
The easiest way to get a hold of me, Jesse, is go to blackbeltleadership.com. All my tools, all my resources, our certification programs, everything is there. blackbeltleadership.com.
Great. And everyone, you can go to my website. They're bringing it back up today. We've been doing some work on it, but it's coachjessiebowen.com. That's JESSIE.com. If you want to publish your book, remember, go to elitepublications.org. That's elitepublications.org. I'll set up some free time to hear about your project, give you some focus on it, what you need to do. I'm here to support you. Any last words, John?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be on here. And again, I just want to challenge the school owners. Be more than a martial artist. There's an opportunity there to stand out as unique and different, but it's going to require that you invest in you. And if you believe in yourself and you believe in what you're doing, be willing to put some money where your mouth is, grow yourself, become better at who you are, what you do, and you're going to transform not just yourself, but the life of every person that you come into contact with.
Totally amazing. So everyone, remember, check us out. Everybody's got a story. Just have to get it out. Hey, this is Jessie Bowen, and this is the Become an Author podcast. See ya.